Honda Africa Twin. For many people it means icon, legend, Dakar Rally winning bike. And no, it does not have parallel twin and automatic gearbox. Real Africa Twin's heart is V-twin engine, just like these two. These two Hondas doesn't seem very similar, but trust me, they are. This is 93 almost original Africa, and this is 99 Africa, which is heavily modified to compete modern bikes. We will get back to these bikes a bit later, but first, let's have a look how everything started. As many other bikes, Africa has Dakar Rally roots. In 1986 HRC, the Honda Racing Corporation decided to dethrone BMW from their race-winning line on Paris-Dakar Rally and built water-cooled V-twin weapon, NXR 750V, which won 4 Dakar Rallies in a row from 86 to 89. In 1988, Honda decided to turn this race-winning success into bike sales and presented first Africa Twin XR V650 to public. It was heavily based on Dakar race bike, but it was redesigned only after 2 years. New XR V750 came with more power, but also more weight and more, let's say, chubbiness. On the other side, it was better for traveling and everyday use, and definitely it has won hearts of people all around the globe. I could imagine it's really nice to travel on this bike. Well, you can see that your knees are hidden behind the tank. It has a fairing, so you're protected from the wind. It is really heavy. Well, it has, comparing to modern bike, it has only 220 kilos. Which means that this bike is probably the same weight as a modern GS, but the thing is, it feels much heavier. You can feel it really in off-road. You can feel it on handlebars, like those are really soft. That it's really wobbly. The whole frame is twisting a bit. It's really soft. Just few details for comparison between 650 and 750. 750 had 5 more horsepower, but on the other side a little bit less of travel length on suspension. But the main difference was the weight. It had 22 kilos more. Well, many would say that more than 20 kilos was step back from its off-road roots, but there were still riders and tuners all around the world who off-roaded Africa Twins no matter what. I can understand why someone tunes suspension on this bike. Well, it's capable, but it's not capable a lot. And if you want to keep up with modern bikes, you definitely need to make some changes. And also the engine, it does not have any huge amount of power, you know, but it does not disappoint at all. In 90s, there weren't much options for adventure bikes. Well, you could buy the GS, you could buy Super Tenere, and you could buy this. If we are talking about 2-cylinder bikes, well, you could buy Kajiva Elephant, but you were mostly in the service than on the bike. When there were some navigation rallies when you needed to count kilometers, Africa was quite popular because it had this Tripmaster and you were able to adjust kilometers on it. So it basically worked like some ICO or rally Tripmaster for navigation rallies. I remember even some people just took this from Africa and put it on different bikes. But who had this Tripmaster in Africa was a king 15 years ago. There are even companies like African Queens or Buano Race Parts which were mainly focused on upgrading all Africa Twins. And that's the part when we get to that bike. this Africa belongs to Karel, friend of mine, who works as a jet fighter mechanic. And well, you can see there must be some backstory behind this bike. Well, everything started when he bought it from Italy as a regular 1999 RE7 Africa Twin, and he started to off-road the bike. He dismounted some parts just fell off. He did some tuning on original suspension, and one day he had a massive crash with deer and dismounted Africa on pieces. I saw it on my own eyes. I was riding about 20 meters behind him, and it was impulse to rebuild Africa a bit more. So he put KYB forks in front, he made himself aluminum tanks, and he did a new paint job and everything, but he still wasn't very happy about it because it was still Africa Twin like he knew it before. So he scrapped everything and started with frame and engine only. And the result of his work, the Africa, which can compete against modern bikes, stands here. Engine is probably the weakest part of this bike, as it has really lack of power. When you want to accelerate 70 kilometers per hour plus, it really takes time. But on some enduro riding, it's more or less like traction control, you know, like it's not really slipping tire. It's not so bitchy as modern overpowered bikes. Carbon fiber, carbon fiber, carbon fiber, carbon fiber. Well, it's huge craftsmanship. Well, all the things you can see on the bike was done by himself. Well, you can see that it has aluminum tanks, but at one point it had composite tanks. He decided to make carbon fiber mixed with Kevlar tanks, but he had 2 generations of these tanks, but both were leaking, so he got back to aluminum tanks. He made about, I don't know, 4 or 5 sets of tanks for his bikes. It has also the rear tank in the subframe. Subframe is self-made. Well, it ended like a 35-liter tanker. It has 3 aluminum tanks, which takes 35 liters. This one is composite made. It has USD 300mm forks from Yamaha YZ. The rear shock is from TTR 600. It's Allen's and it was made longer. The wheels are lighter than the original Africas, and it's 18-inch in the rear, and much more modification like better oil cooling, like stealing damper from Scots and stuff like that. So it makes this bike working really well in off-road. If you put on the, the flashlights, you can hear the relay working. It sounds like typewriter, you know. It's really nice handling when standing on foot pegs, to be honest. And after riding this bike all day, didn't have too much need of sitting on the bike. You know, to ride this bike, it's like operating a machine. You know, it's machine. You can see it on this part. Well, if you make this shot and put it in a, those boxes when you need to verify on internet that you're not a robot to choose locomotive parts, you will definitely pick this one because, well, it fucking looks like locomotive part. Oh, there's gonna be train coming. Train. Right now we are racing the train, and we're going about 70. It's faster, so we have to speed up. Now we are going about 80. The train is going 90. Well, what? Yeah. Oh Jesus. I have to slow down because, well, it changed into single track right now. And what's What's so cool about this bike is that it's stable in really high speed. It's not any wobbly. Even though it has really high suspension, like 300 millimeters, it's pretty okay to go 100 kilometers per hour on this bike, and you're not afraid that it's gonna kill you in any moment. My feelings about the bike is that, well, it's written here, it's built, not bought. And it needs lots of adaptation to get used to the bike and to ride it. Of course, it's non-powerful, rusty bucket, but it differs from other bikes, and that's probably the thing which makes this bike so special. I think that throughout the years, the Africa Twins were old, the suspension wasn't working enough, and it's really nice that there are still people like Karel which are tuning these bikes to keep them on tracks, to keep them racing. Because, well, modern bikes, for me personally, are being a bit boring. You know, all have the same engines. It's really nice to see people running these old V-twins. And I appreciate it. They are keeping those bikes alive. Even it's easier to buy the new bike, you know, which is working much better. It's much harder to build it, make it working properly. So I really love Karel's work. I really enjoyed riding this bike. It was fun. Definitely it was fun. So big thanks to Karel, who brought me his jewel. And we will try some other bikes next time.